Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news tonight on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira, and other headlines. Supreme Court issues notice to centre on cattle ban order, told to file response within 2 weeks. Government says its order is intended to regulate cattle trade across country. Tamil Nadu Speaker disallows discussion on the issue of alleged horse trading of AIADMK MLAs. DMK and ally Congress stage a walkout from the assembly. With cases piling up in courts, government plans to convene conference of Chief Justices of High Courts, meet to suggest ways to expedite hearings of cases pending for more than 10 years. American President Donald Trump being investigated for possible obstruction of justice, say US reports. Republican-led Senate approves wide-ranging sanctions against Russia for interfering in 2016 presidential elections. Well, the Supreme Court on Thursday sought a response from the centre on a petition challenging its ban on cattle trade at animal markets for slaughter. The government clarified that it will review the decision after taking account of all stakeholders.
The Supreme Court issued a notice to the centre on banning the sale and purchase of cattle at animal markets for slaughter. The court was hearing separate petitions, including one filed by a Hyderabad-based organisation. The petition claims that the government's decision violates fundamental rights to livelihood, freedom of religion and choice of food. It also says a total ban will impose a huge economic burden on farmers and cattle traders. The centre said that the ban is intended to regulate cattle trade across the country. While the government has 2 weeks to file its response, the Supreme Court has, however, not imposed a stay on the centre's notification.
ये हमें कभी नहीं भूलना चाहिए कि भारत के संविधान में ही गौ संवर्धन डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल ऑफ स्टेट पॉलिसी में है और हम किसी के फूड हैबिट पर कोई कंट्रोल नहीं करना चाहते। ये भी एक सच्चाई है कि देश की बहुत बड़ी आबादी गौ संपदा का सम्मान करती है।
To be vulnerable to are susceptible to unconstitutionality by taking away the right to life, right to practice a trade, right to practice one's religion, and all the freedoms that are guaranteed in Part 3 of the Constitution. So, prima facie, Supreme Court may have seen weight in the challenge to the notification and the rules that have been framed, which have virtually banned the production of meat.
They said to the state, whatever you have to say, you please say in your response, in your affidavit of response. I think the state wanted to amplify on what is already reported in newspapers, that there is some rethink going on. And therefore, on an issue like this, which has pan-Indian implications, it's important that the state should have a chance to respond. This case had nothing to do with cow slaughter. This case is about cattle markets. It's not about cow slaughter.
In May, the centre banned the trade in cattle for slaughter under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. The decision triggered huge protests in many states, in the south and in the northeast, where beef is a staple. Chief Ministers of Bengal and Kerala called the ban unconstitutional, while Meghalaya and Kerala assemblies passed a resolution against it. The Supreme Court became the fourth court to issue notice to the government in the matter. Earlier, Madras, Kerala and Bombay High Courts also issued notice on the stand. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
On Thursday, DMK and its ally Congress staged a walkout from the Tamil Nadu Assembly after the Speaker disallowed a discussion on the issue of alleged horse trading of AIADMK MLAs. Leader of Opposition M.K. Stalin yet again tried to raise the issue in the House, but Speaker P. Dhanpal insisted that he has already given ruling on the matter. After the Speaker's clarification, the Congress party too walked out soon after the DMK, as the chair did not give permission to raise the matter. Speaker P. Dhanpal said that the discussion based on media reports, science evidence could not be allowed. In order to let the House run, Speaker said if the members had evidence for their claims, it could be submitted to him, and if found in order, he would allow a discussion.
What Mr. M.K. Stalin, DMK opponent party leader, as well as our Congress party leader Mr. K.R. Ramasamy, they all raising the issue should come in the assembly. So otherwise our honorable speaker is having discretionary power to have this issue in the assembly. So this issue should come to the assembly, then only the public of Tamil Nadu knew what happened in the past, what happened in the present.
Well, the government is planning a conference of Chief Justices of High Courts to look at the possibility of expediting long-pending cases. Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad also informed that Election Commission's proposal to procure VVPAT machines from the 2019 general election has been approved.
Law and Justice Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad on Wednesday said that the government will soon convene a conference of all Chief Justices of High Courts to expedite hearing of cases pending for more than 10 years. Out of 2.29 crore cases pending in subordinate courts across the country, 22.95 lakh are running for 10 years. In addition, 40 lakh cases are pending between 5 and 10 years. UP accounts for 30% of all 10-year-old cases pending countrywide, followed by Gujarat with 22%, Maharashtra with 11%, Bihar with 10%, Odisha and West Bengal with 8%.
Cases 10 years old must be expedited. And I have directed my Justice Department Secretary to follow it up on a mission mode.
Prasad also informed that the Legislative Department has approved Election Commission's proposal to procure 16,15,000 VVPAT machines for the 2019 general elections. Kruti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Home Ministry has asked the West Bengal government for a report on the Gorkhaland issue after the situation in Darjeeling turned violent on the fourth day. On Thursday, the state police carried out raids on several premises owned by the GJM members that triggered further protests. The centre has also directed the state government to maintain law and order.
The ongoing protest for a separate state of Gorkhaland has intensified. Darjeeling has been witnessing unrest and violence for the past 4 days now. Protesters and riot police hurled stones at each other on Thursday, while a car was also set ablaze. This came after police conducted a series of raids on the premises connected with Gorkha Janmukti Morcha chief Bimal Gurung. Police recovered more than 300 weapons, including arrows and explosives, in the raids.
हम लोगों ने 3 जगहों पर रेड की है और वो रेड के बाद ह्यूज क्वांटिटी में यहाँ पे प्रोहिबिटेड आर्म्स और बहुत ढेर सारा आपका एक्सप्लोजिव और कुछ कैश मिला है, कुछ क्या मतलब काफ़ी कैश आप लोगों ने देखा ही है वीडियो में, जिसको हम लोग वेरीफाई कर रहे हैं और भी बहुत से कॉन्ट्राबैंड आइटम्स यहाँ से मिले हैं जिसको हम लोग वेरीफाई करने के बाद करें.
The ripple effect of police raids was that the GJM protesters took to the streets and vandalized several properties and also announced an indefinite shutdown in Darjeeling.
पुलिस प्रशासन जबरदस्ती घुस के हमारा ये ऑफिस में घुस के सब चीज ले गया है. सब लोग ये हमारा ऑफिस है ना, सब लोग ले गया है. बाकी तो बंगाल सरकार का चाल है. जितना भी आज अभी आंदोलन हो रहा है ना, वो पैसा हम सभी जनता ने एक एक करके इकट्ठा किया है, आंदोलन के लिए इकट्ठा किया है. बाकी पैसा ज्यादा तो वो बंगाल सरकार का चाल है.
The demand of the GJM for a separate state to be carved out of the Darjeeling Hills of West Bengal is fast turning into a major political crisis for Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. The opposition party CPIM blames Banerjee for the violent agitation.
अभी मौका परस्ती के चलते हुए अब वायदों को पूरा करने का डिमांड वो GJM कह रहा है. अब सरकार जो है वो पूरा नहीं कर सकती क्योंकि ये हालत है. अब इसके अंदर सरकार को ये इनिशिएटिव लेनी चाहिए, दमन से नहीं लेकिन बातचीत के आधार पर इस मामले को सुलझाना है.
The GJM's call for a separate state gained momentum after 6 other Hill parties extended their support and unanimously passed a resolution earlier this week for a new state. The centre has also sought a detailed report on the prevailing situation in the Hill district from the state government. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, farmer agitations have broken out across states over the last 2 weeks. The anger of the farmers is focused on many issues, mainly over the minimum support price, compensation for damaged crops and rising debt. The government claims it has taken steps to address the distress, but so far they have yielded limited results. Let's take a look at the reasons behind the simmering discontent.
With farmer protests spreading across the country, the debate is now over. What are the reasons that are fueling the agitation?
इसकी फसल का सही साठ दाम नहीं मिल रहा है। जो फसलें वो जो लागत लगती है उससे दिन पे दिन वो भाव सभी चीज़ों के घटते जा रहे हैं। लागत बढ़ रही है, लागत दिन पे दिन महंगाई हो रही है। पैकिंग सामान का तो सरकार भाव फिक्स कर रही है, पर किसान का कोई भाव नहीं है। किसान गड्ढे में जाता ही जा रहा है।
Some figures provide a clue to the increasing farmer distress and anger. In the last 14 years, farmer incomes rose to just 5%, probably the lowest seen by any business. In 1970, agriculture contributed 43% to the GDP. Today, it has come down to less than 17%. According to the Shanta Kumar Committee report, only 6% farmers benefited from the minimum support price through sale of food grains. The rest are dependent on the market.
मार्केट हमारा इम्परफेक्ट है, ज़रा सा भी प्राइस प्रोडक्शन बढ़ता है तो तुरंत दाम क्रॉस कर जाता है। और आपने देखा होगा इसी साल देख लो कि आलू का प्रोडक्शन सिर्फ 1% बढ़ा है 2016-17 में और दाम 20% 30% घट गया। तो फार्मर्स के साथ दिक्कत है, उनके पास कोई चॉइस नहीं होता, वो कीपिंग कैपेसिटी होती नहीं है, लोकल लेवल पे कोल्ड स्टोरेज नहीं है, ट्रांसपोर्ट फैसिलिटी नहीं है।
इंटरनेशनली बाकी जो रिच कंट्रीज़ है जहाँ हम एक्सपोर्ट करते थे वहाँ जो इकॉनमी अच्छी नहीं चल रही है, तो इसलिए जो है उन एक्सपोर्ट डिमांड जो है वो भी कम हुआ है और इसके चलते जो है वो हमारा एक्सपोर्ट जो है वो थोड़ा कम हुआ है। दूसरा जो कारण है जो इंपोर्ट से भी रिलेटेड है वो ये है कि 2014 और 2015 दोनों साल हमारे यहाँ ड्राउट थे, तो हमारा एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्शन भी काफ़ी कम रहा है।
In the Malwa region of Madhya Pradesh, agriculture is the main occupation just as in many other places. The region is an important producer of opium in the world. Wheat and soybean are important cash crops while textiles are a major industry. But despite all this, farmers here are in acute distress.
कोई जिन्स का भाव नहीं, अभी तक आधे भाव रह गए। सोयाबीन में खर्चा कितना आता है सब आप लागत देखो उसकी, उसका मूल्यांकन करो तो क्या मिल रहा, कुछ भी नहीं मिल रहा सोयाबीन में। बहुत हालत खराब है। उन्होंने जब वादा किया था हम उचित दाम दिलवाएंगे, ये करवाएंगे वो करवाएंगे, बाकी सब खोखले साबित हुए हैं।
Government claims its budgetary allocation for agriculture surpasses the previous UP regime. Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself has promised to double the income of farmers by 2022. But nothing seems to have had any impact on the farmers' problems. Ravindra Sharon's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, let's take a look now at some other developments from across the country and nationwide. The Home Ministry has ordered an internal investigation into the use of an image of the Spain-Morocco border in its annual report. The picture reportedly shows floodlights along the India-Pakistan border. The picture is printed on page 40 of the report. The report of 2016 was tabled during the budget session in April. The Public Works Department of the Delhi government imposed a fine of 27 lakh rupees on the Aam Aadmi Party. The fine is for unauthorized occupation of the party office. It is 65 times the license fee, which reportedly increases if the party doesn't vacate the office. Neeru Chadda on Thursday was elected as the first Indian woman member of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. The Indian nominee topped the ballot for the Asia-Pacific group in an election held on June 14. She becomes the first Indian woman to hold a high-ranking UN position after Vijaya Lakshmi Pandit. The tribunal is a top body which adjudicates cases related to the international law of the seas. At least 10 people were killed and over 55 injured in a bus accident at Himachal Pradesh's Kangra district. According to reports, the bus was full of pilgrims from Punjab. Preliminary inquiry said that the cause of the accident was overspeeding. The CBI will probe the alleged financial irregularities in the land acquisition for National Highway 74 in Uttarakhand's Udham Singh Nagar district. A preliminary inquiry had pointed out that the scam to be worth almost 240 crore rupees. State Chief Minister Trivendra Singh Rawat had handed over the case to the Central Probe Agency in the month of March. Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
In our country, recycle or reuse of water is very less. There is a lot of possibility of recycling of water in domestic sector as well as in industrial sector. The estimates show that about 15% of our food production today is based on groundwater which is being mined.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Sharat Kumar Jain, Senior Scientist, National Institute of Hydrology at Roorkee, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, US President Donald Trump lashed out on Twitter early on Thursday after a report that he was under investigation for obstruction of justice. He is reportedly being investigated for alleged Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and possible collusion with the Trump campaign. Special counsel Robert Mueller is leading the Russian probe. Last week, former FBI Director James Comey told Congress he believes he was fired by Trump to undermine the agency's Russia probe. The obstruction of justice investigation into Trump began days after Comey was fired on May 9th, according to people familiar with the matter, the Washington Post reported. The US administration will begin an interagency review of its relations with Pakistan. This was confirmed by US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson during a congressional hearing on the State Department's annual budget proposals. Responding to a question from Congressman Dana Rohrabacher on why the US continues to give financial assistance to Pakistan, Tillerson said, "We are beginning an interagency policy review towards Pakistan. This is going to be one of the considerations. The President has asked the question specifically about our level of support and funding to Pakistan. No decision is to be taken until we complete that policy review." Pakistan was once the third largest recipient of US foreign assistance and received aid of more than $3.5 million in 2011. The grant, however, shrunk to less than $1 billion in 2016. London firefighters, traumatized by the devastation they witnessed in the Grenfell Tower blaze, are working towards making the buildings safe to be able to continue the search for more victims. The death toll in the tragedy has risen to 17. Several of the almost 600 residents of the building are still missing. It is still unsafe for firefighters to go to all parts of the 24-story tower so they can complete a fingertip search of the entire structure.
The tragedy that befell Grenfell Tower in London has brought out the compassionate side of the city's residents. People from across the city have sprung into action to help survivors, offering clothes, blankets, food and many other daily supplies. Many have also opened their homes to the victims who lost everything in the fire. A few hundred meters away from the torched building, in the Latimer neighborhood, a relief center has been set up. Temporary reception centers have also mushroomed around the city to accommodate survivors.
All of London's together, here as a team, as a community, for everybody, and it was wonderful. It was good to see London being celebrated and London in action.
Loads of people were affected. This is really sad because this is our city, right? When something bad happens, people come together, and this is like one of those times.
What happened? It just hurt, you know? People see on TV and they just want to come and help.
The response of people living nearby who've provided help, compassion and support has, I think, once again shown the fantastic spirit of London. Earlier today I ordered a cross-government meeting to ensure that every assistance was being given to manage the emergency service response, and that group will meet again tomorrow. And once again, our emergency services, the fire service, ambulance, NHS and police, have shown incredible bravery, working in truly appalling conditions. Their work will continue for some time, and I know everybody will want to join me in thanking them for their amazing bravery.
The Grenfell Tower apartment block was home to about 600 people. Several are still missing and the death toll is likely to go up.
Sadly, I can confirm that the number of people that have died is now 17.
My husband's family were living there.
Is your husband's family okay?
3 of them, yeah, but we couldn't find my father-in-law.
Prime Minister Theresa May visited the site of the tragedy on Thursday, inspecting the rescue work. She has promised a proper investigation into the reasons behind the fire.
Well, our focus today is on ensuring that there is every support available to the emergency services in their really difficult work in these terrible conditions, but also in providing help and support to all those who have been victims. And we must remember that there are people tonight who have no home to go home to. They have lost absolutely everything. So our focus must be on providing support to them. Of course, as I say, in due course, when the scene is secure, when it's possible to identify the cause of this fire, then of course there will be proper investigation, and if there are any lessons to be learned, they will be, and action will be taken.
As the country mourned the loss of lives, the European Parliament held a moment of silence to pay tribute to the victims.
Cari colleghi, per questo vi chiedo ancora una volta di unirvi a me in un minuto di silenzio per ricordare le vittime innocenti della tragedia di Londra.
Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
Well, Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was questioned for 3 hours by a Supreme Court-appointed 6-member team that is investigating the Panama Gate scandal in Islamabad, lashing out at some what he called unseen elements for hatching conspiracies against him. Sharif told the court that he and his family had done nothing wrong. He also clarified that the charges against him had nothing to do with his tenure as the Prime Minister, but are on a personal level regarding his family business. Sharif and his sons are being investigated on allegations of money laundering through which properties in London's posh area were purchased when he served as Prime Minister in the 90s. But at least 7 people were killed and over 55 others injured in an explosion that struck a kindergarten school in China's eastern Jiangsu province. According to reports, the blast happened at the gate of the school when children were leaving the campus. 2 people died at the scene and 5 later died in the hospital. Of those injured, 9 are in serious condition. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack so far. Well, here's a roundup of some of the other international news and global buzz. 31 people were killed and 40 people wounded in a suicide bomb blast in Mogadishu. Suicide bombers rammed an explosive-laden car into a hotel's entrance in the Somalian capital. Gunmen stormed the restaurant where militants held at least 20 people hostage. The attack was later claimed by Islamist Al-Shabaab militants. The Pentagon agreed to sell US-manufactured F-15 fighter aircraft worth $12 billion to Qatar amid the ongoing crisis with its Gulf neighbors. The deal was finalized by Qatar's defense minister and his US counterpart. The agreement represents US support for Qatar as it faces regional isolation and the severing of travel and trade links. UN Chief Antonio Guterres warned that any country supporting terrorism will ultimately have to pay a high price and offered his help to promote cooperation between Pakistan and Afghanistan. The UN chief also asked the Afghan government to submit proof regarding involvement of Pakistan in equipping and funding terrorism. Japan enacted a law targeting conspiracies to commit terrorism and other serious crimes amid concerns over civil liberties. The bill came days after the current session of Parliament is set to end on June 18th. The Japanese governments have previously tried to pass similar legislation needed to ratify a UN treaty aimed at global organized crime as Tokyo prepares to host the 2020 Olympics. Venezuela's opposition punctuated their 2-month wave of mass marches with one of the series of sit-ins in Caracas. The protest was later met with National Guards launching tear gas on roads and in restaurants and attacking with canisters, causing several injuries. Well, the poster of Rajya Sabha TV's first feature film, Raga She, was released today. The movie is based on the Azad Hind Fauj trials. Gurdeep Singh Sappal, CEO of Rajya Sabha TV, is the producer of the film that's directed by National Award winner Digmanshu Dhulia. Kunal Kapoor essays the role of Major Shahnawaz Khan, while Amit Saad and Mohit Marwa play the characters of Colonel Gurbaksh Singh Dillon and Colonel Prem Sehgal. Rana Mazuddin, Siddharth Pandit and Revant Shergill scored the music for the film, while Rishi Punjabi is the cinematographer. The film is scheduled for release on July 28th in over 800 cinema halls across the country. Well, let's now take a look at some developments from the world of sports in Sports Beat. In badminton, India's HS Pranoy shocked world number 1 Lee Chong-wei of Malaysia in straight games to enter the quarterfinals of the $10 lakh Indonesia Super Series premiere in Jakarta. K. Srikanth also scored a well-fought victory over Denmark's Jan O. Jorgensen to make the quarters. Pranoy will next face Olympian champion Chen Long of China, while Srikanth will meet the winner of the match between Ing Ka Long and Angus and Taipei's Su Wei-jiang. Manchester United signed Sweden defender Victor Lindelof for a 4-year contract from Portuguese champions Benfica, with the option of extending it by another year. 22-year-old Swedish international centre-back Lindelof will make his debut on the summer tour of the USA in July. Andy Murray has backed changes to speed up tennis being tested at the inaugural Next Generation ATP Finals in Milan. The tournament will feature a new scoring system. Murray told reporters that modern tennis needs new formats and different scoring systems. Well, that's it on this newscast. Good night.